Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Everyday Black Man Podcast. I'm Riker, and I'm joined by R. Reed Armstead and DJ All Might. Our special guest this week was AJ Watkins, and she's got a doozy for you. She wants to talk about the kinky stuff, that all natural. And we're discussing your hair. Keep your minds out the gutter. But AJ has done something that very few people do, and she said, you know what? For our listeners and our listeners only, she wanted to put out a special promo code. That promo code is every day, and they get you 20% off at her website, allnaturalkinks.com. So listen to the episode, look at her website, and please show her some love because we all could do better to take care of our hair. But without any further ado, let's start the show.
Introducing.
AJ is our guest for today, so that would be who AJ is. AJ has an
Yes.
all-natural line, and she's going to tell us more about it. So instead of, or in lieu of Patreon, I wanted to ask AJ to tell us a little bit more about herself.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for having me. This was just thank you for that warm up. I was just I'm like, okay, y'all are cool. Y'all are chill. I can talk to y'all. So I appreciate that. That was what's up. So yeah, I'm AJ Watkins. I am the founder and CEO of All Natural Kinks, which is a natural hair care line focusing on growing out your natural hair, reaching your hair goal lengths, reaching your length potential of your natural hair, focusing on the kinky texture. I feel like that's a texture that you don't really think of like being like long, healthy, that type of thing. But I was able to grow my hair out to waist length. And so now I'm on a mission to help other women grow their hair out to, their potential as well. So that's a little bit about All Natural Kinks.
Well, thank you. We really do appreciate you telling us a little bit more about it. As you mentioned, you started All Natural Kinks. What made you decide to start a hair care business?
Yes. So it's funny because I actually came into it by accident. Like I never thought I would have like, a line with products and that type of thing. But in college, as I started in college in 2007 is when I started college. All throughout high school, like my hair was about shoulder length and it never seemed to grow. Like I feel like I would, try everything. I felt like I was doing everything that I thought I needed to do, but it just did not grow. And that bothered me. I was just kind of like, it can't be. I don't want to believe this myth, like Black girls can't grow long hair, Black girls can't grow past a certain length. Like that bothered me. And in college, one of my homegirls, she actually she was a Black girl and she had hair down to her butt. And I had never seen that before in life. I was like, how is that possible? But it was also like, it is possible, that type of thing. So what I did in college is I started really researching how, to grow the kinky texture. How can I, grow my textured hair? And so I started like really getting obsessed with like watching videos. I started getting really into researching what it took to grow, what I needed to do to my scalp, what I needed to do to retain length. And I was a bio major, but I felt like I was also, a hair major as well, because every time on my extra time, I would like be looking at a hair video, or I'd be looking up some research. I'd join some blog, something about like getting really into growing hair and experimenting with products and that type of thing. And so that's really what sparked my passion. And I was able to start growing out my own hair using a lot of the formulas and a lot of the processes that I researched. So that was like huge for me. And so, I was into it and I was into making products, but it was really just for me, myself, and I, and like doing the research that I could do to grow my own natural hair. And so, kind of fast forward a little bit to, I graduated college. From California. And I moved to DC for a while to do IT consulting and still doing like the same things with my hair, still growing it, still kind of experimenting. And literally it wasn't until about, maybe 4 years into my career, my boyfriend, fiance now, let me know. He was just like, I see you making all this stuff. I see you, cooking up things in your kitchen, like, and you have so many results. I feel like people would want this. People want, your secret sauce, basically. So I was like, oh, no, like, this is just for me. This is what I do. I was very like I feel like type A, one track mind type of thing. I was like, no, I do this now. And, it's very orderly. I felt like, so bringing something in, like selling hair care products just did not, I don't know, it didn't really register for me. But he actually put one of my products on, I think it was Snapchat at the time, and saying like, look at my girl's hair. She was able to grow it. Like, look what her stuff does. And then people started hitting him up like, wait a minute, like, what is she using? Like, what is that? How can I get it? And then, he said, well, we're going to have to start getting some bottles because they want to buy it from you. We're going to start having to set our prices, create an Instagram, get on a website. So that's exactly what I did. And again, I didn't feel right with it just because I was just like, but it's not the way I would feel like I would want to do it. But, the demand kind of made the market for me. Like, I feel like people came and I just started out like that. It was more about the products for me. Once I really got into it, it was more about it was more about the education on how to take care of the hair rather than like a product per se. Like I said, my product did work, but you have to also use the processes in order to make that work. So that was my whole thing, because I started off with one single growth oil. That was like my staple product. And so, after that, things started to grow. I started experimenting, creating a leave-in conditioner. I started, experimenting with, shea butters and, creating that to actually seal the moisture in your hair, that type of thing. So again, it was kind of by him pushing me, but we're here today and that's how I got started.
Wow,
Nice.
what a good man. What a good man. Hey, so I have a question myself. So one of the most interesting like documentaries I ever watched, like it doesn't get
Okay.
enough credit. It was by Chris Rock called Good Hair. And
Yes.
like well we talk about it, but like there's this stigma of the weave and the other thing. There is a natural movement that is coming about, but why it has the weave and the wig stigma being the most, I would say, what would we say not famous? What would it be? The most it would be the most image
Pervasive.
in our history. I would say pervasive, but that's the image of black women versus the afros
Yep.
and the natural hair. I think they're both beautiful, to each his own. And then I have a second question to follow that.
Yeah. So your question basically is kind of like, why do I feel like it's more like the weave and everything is more
Correct.
like,
Versus our
yeah,
natural look. White women natural look is pretty much that.
Wait a minute, who?
Even
Wait,
though
you
they
said
do
white
have
women?
curly hair, it's the long, straight, typically
White
blonde,
women, but white
brunette,
women use
or red.
extensions and they don't get put to it don't get like
Correct.
called out as much as like black women. Like it's
Black
getting
women use
shamed upon
extensions
black
too.
women.
They use
No, but I'm
clip-ins.
saying,
I think they call them
yeah,
clip-ins.
they use clip-ins now, and I think it's like the stigma of it. Like I feel like and I think it's like the length thing. Like somewhere along the line, I feel like length became like the kind of like the stigma for beauty. Like I feel like we had that movement where it was like everybody was in the afro. Didn't matter if you had an afro, you were that. Like it really was not. It was about more of like the culture. I felt like was so connected to that, and I feel like now, like somewhere on the line, like that length and just really, I think celebrities really kind of
Correct.
manifest that culture really, right? So it's just kind of like, okay, because it's been around for so long, so you see like celebrities, well, how do they get their hair like that? I don't want to wait 3 years to do all that process. I want that style now. So in order to get that style, I need to get a weave, right? So I think that's kind of where it comes from, like that quick satisfaction. I feel like that's kind of how it came in. And once I feel like if it was more of difference with like celebrities and people, that we look to, were embracing more of natural styles at that point, then maybe it would be a little bit more less stigmatized.
Now,
what?
two of us are follically challenged brothers on here. One of us won't
Okay.
give it up. What advice do you
Hater.
have for
And I
them?
don't think you should give it up.
What do you have for them? What kind of products or advice do you have for them? Because I did try a black product it's called Baskin Lather, and it was
Okay.
supposed to, yeah, whatever, but it didn't do shit for me.
Well, I'll tell you this, like it's important to get it at the thinning follicle level. So it's important to get it when you see like kind of when you see the sense of follicle hope, meaning like you see like at least some little hairs and maybe it just starts thinning. That's when you really want to kind of, I always say baby the hairs, right? That's when you have to go into, heavy massaging with, oils. For me personally, I have, my growth oil includes, rosemary oil, lavender oil, which again stimulates the hair follicles. That's really what's important. Also, it's important to cover your hair, right? With like, I do bonnets, but guys do rag, keeping it covered. I'm talking about when you wear any type of beanie, any type of hat, do-rag needs to be under there because all the elements are going to, kind of attack those little hairs that you have. So you literally have to kind of really baby it, if that makes sense. So I think, the massaging and the massaging of the hair really helps with that overall, keeping it moisturized. And that's a natural way to do it, right? I feel like that's kind of like the
It has to
first.
be a satin bonnet, right?
Say that again.
It has to be satin, right?
Satin, yes, satin or I mean silk. You can do silk. I mean, it's a little, it's pricier, but either satin or silk is like the biggest thing that's going to protect it.
So you don't think terminal growth is a thing? Because one thing I've noticed myself, since I'm a follically challenged brother, I do my beard. My beard only grows to a certain length, and they call it
Hmm.
follicle. I don't know what it's called. Length. I don't know. I remember I did some research on it. I'm just like, well, that's it. I'm giving up. I want a long beard, but I have a full beard, but I don't have a long beard. And I was just like, what can I do?
So I
I
think
know.
with that, terminal growth factor is a little bit like it. There is a certain to a certain extent, but also no, because I've seen again going back to what I know is just hair in general, and like them putting a stigmatite, not stigmatite, but like a barrier on at least Black women growing out their hair. Like we can't grow it past like shoulder length, right? Like that's just where it is, and that's your terminal growth length, right? And so my thing is, if you are taking care of it, you can get it past that, right? If you're doing all the steps to do that, there is more growth that can happen. So, as far as that, I feel like if you are doing all the right things, then it can go longer. And I've seen it with hair and beards. Like people say, well, I can't get it past a certain length. I see them use natural products. I see them, stimulate that. I see them use the right moisturizers, moisturizing shampoo, which is important. I see, beard and hair, both when the hair is not dried out, it grows longer. So I feel like there is a way to get the length longer, even with that. I don't know. I'm a little iffy about that, the terminal type of thing.
So, hello, I have a daughter, and
Okay.
she has long hair, I guess, but
Okay.
I know she would like it longer. It's like in the
Okay.
middle of her back. She's
Okay.
only like she would be 13 in January. Yeah, she's
Okay.
13 in January.
Oh, I'm killing it.
So, but I would say she's black and a little bit of that Puerto Rican in there.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit
Okay.
of that Puerto Rican in
Okay.
there.
A little bit of Puerto Rican.
So
Okay.
her hair care, like I don't know. Me and her mom talk about it, and she was like, her hair is different from mine. I think she
Yes.
has more of my freaking hair. So she's been trying to find a routine or a regimen. Like for the most part, she keeps it braided, but I'm just like, girl, don't do that no more. And
Don't keep it braided.
I don't like it because I feel like braids. How can I say this? Later on, I noticed a lot with black women who had braids. Their hairlines be kind of way
Ooh,
back.
gotcha. Yes.
But
Yes.
but
That's a good
braids don't
Right,
point.
protect the style, though, right?
There it is.
but
There it is. Okay. So the biggest thing with braids, and I love that you brought it up, right? Because it's really, really, really important because I see so many people say like, you know what, braids are cool, but they're messing up my hairline, right? Like braid, like, cause it is a very good protective style, but you have to be careful of who you're letting. I'm just going to use your daughter for this example. You have to be careful of who is doing their hair, right? And so as far as, if their mom is doing their hair or somebody's doing their hair, you want to make sure it's not too tight. That's going to be the biggest thing, right? And the type of braid that you do, if you're putting tension, again, like I said, on the front of the hair is just the most sensitive. So even with if you have thinning, if you're a man and you have thinning parts up there, if you're a woman with the edges, like you have to baby that hair. And so for women with the braids, you got to keep it looser up there, and you got to get a braider that knows that and is willing to kind of keep it looser. So braids are good. I think braids are great for your daughter, and if she has a little bit of a kink or texture, I think that's the right way, because for me personally, that's how I was able to get my hair to waist length. I just did braids, but I was doing my own braids, and I did have a braider at one point who just braided the crap, like braiding the crap. I'm talking bleedy scalp type of braids, and it was like, oh no, I need to take this out, right?
what
Like
they
right
call them,
away. It was not.
Africans. The Africans, they do the very tight braids. Well, that's the
Yes, yeah,
stigma to
no.
them. The stigmatism to them. They do very tight braids.
And it's a no. It's a no. And if you see any tight things or see any sensitive on the scalp, you will get that, because even guys that get braids, they sometimes, that's also sometimes where that thinning happens. Sometimes it is, genetics, but sometimes it's tension on the scalp, right? And so that's where that comes in sometimes. So I think it's like you have to know just the tightness of that. Like, no. It should never be that. And also there's other protective styles. There's twist you can do as well. If, the braids, you feel like the braids are too tight, there's different twist styles you could do as well. So I think that's the biggest thing. But as somebody mentioned too, protective styling is key with that, and making sure the hair is moisturized, and not only moisturized with like, leave-in conditioners and like, water and things like that. You want to moisturize your hair, but you also want to seal in the moisture. So sealing in, a lot of people don't do that process because they don't really know what that is, or, if that's a thing. But, with the kinkier texture, so like the naturally kinkier textures are just prone to dryness. That's just what it is. And so if you put moisture in your hair, it may last for, I don't know, 2 minutes or whatever, but then it's dry again once it's literally dry. So you have to put it. Go ahead.
No. You were just saying something I just thought about when we were talking about women and hair. I feel like black men embrace their hair more than black women. But I think because we're already piranhas of society, I mean, what's going to change?
Yeah.
Maybe that's easier.
But I also think it's just kind of like those, and it's crazy to me because I feel like protective styles, right? Like, because you see the guys wear it, you see it in NBA, you see it in, pop culture. Like, what do they rock in? Braids, right? It's cool. It's
They're
style.
doing
They
the
make it
braids
hit.
and what's that foam brush thing, whatever they call it
Yeah, that
nowadays.
foam brush, or like that rough type of look,
I
or
love
like,
that shit. That shit's
yeah, which I
gorgeous to
love
me. I
it. I
wish we
think it
had it as
looks.
kids.
You said what?
I wish we had it as kids. I had braids when I was a kid
Oh,
in high
okay.
school.
You
Yeah, not
you
that.
rock the braids, and
Yeah,
I feel
Allen
like,
Iverson. That's where we got it from. Allen Iverson. Again,
yeah,
celebrities.
facts.
The original
So
bad boy.
right, straight up. No, I love me some Allen Iverson.
I
But
did, but I grew up. He's just an idiot.
You
man,
wrong for that, man. But
He
sorry, go
is.
ahead, AJ.
Go ahead.
oh, no. This is great. This is great. But I feel like, I mean, if we look at that, like if we go back to the weave conversation and why the weave became, why women are doing that. Again, culture, the people, celebrities, especially, before like the influencers became popping, right? It was just the actors and actresses, celebrity artists that were dictating the culture, right? And so what was Beyonce rocking? Okay, what were what were those people? What were they rocking? And like, what were the guys like? Allen Iverson braids. Okay, braids is cool. People are getting their hair braided, keeping their hair protected, and that's why it was a little bit more a thing for them. And
Future
it's so,
locks.
yes, exactly, locks. Right now, women are getting to locks, but before, like the
They're
guys,
beautiful.
they were already they. It was fine for them, but women, which is kind of like, what do we have? We have to stick to these beauty standards. Now, I mean, there's so much available, but before it just wasn't like that.
Yeah, I love sister locks. The little small ones. I love those things on women. I love them.
Yes,
Yeah, I love those
beautiful,
little. They
right?
said they're expensive. That's like $1,000 hairdo.
Oh yeah, it's expensive.
All Mike, you had a question. You himself.
But I'm in a situation like you, except the baby's probably gonna have to texture hair of his
Yeah,
mom,
but
and
y'all got
she
more
is
black in there. He probably gonna have your hair, man.
my no my hair is actually extremely like curly. I just never like actually embraced it because of the
Mm.
I got a different texture from my mom. I think I got my dad's, and since I didn't know him like that, I can't really compare. But she compliments my hair all the time. I just don't really take care of it like that. I just, as long as I don't itch and I don't look homeless, I don't care.
Yeah, that's
But
real.
she my wife is like the fucking, her genetics is basically American history, from Native American to every colonizer and black. So, but she has a greater hair. Like, she's a curly girl, but it goes way more deeper than what I know. And she fucking has fucking thousands of dollars of hair products in her sink area. So I don't even bother to
Yeah,
involve
I was gonna
myself in it.
create me a snake oil to sell to black women because
He
I
said a
didn't
snake on, nigga.
know.
This ain't Red Dead
You're
Redemption.
terrible. Exactly. This ain't Red Dead Redemption 1982.
It don't have
But
to be real. I can just say it does things.
um, yeah, I mean that's what most, like, Cantu does that, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay. What do you think of the black products on or allegedly black products? There's Cantu. What was the other one when we was growing up?
Do
Just
not use
Kid.
oh
shampoo.
no, you know which one she needs
Do
to talk
not
on, because
use
I don't.
shampoo.
This is the one that black people thought was the perfect for good texture hair, good hair, good hair. Remember that term, good hair, like
Oh,
that
good
movie.
hair,
But
man.
yeah,
I'm
like
telling
you
you.
mentioned the movie, but
Hmm.
that term, good hair, was always something I hated.
Always.
Remember pink lotion?
Yes,
Oh,
I use me some pink lotion.
what was the
Remember,
name of it?
yeah, that was the Lester's pink lotion. That was what it was
Yes.
Yeah,
called.
we used
And
sporting waves back in the day.
that too,
All those,
that shit
all those
suffocated the
companies are owned
fuck
by
out of
white
our
people
scalps,
now.
man.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was. It's crazy because all the chemicals, and it's so crazy because now Pink Lust, I feel like they're kind of making Pink Lotion. They're making a comeback. They've rebranded everything, and so now they're trying to come back in the industry, and they have been making that comeback. But the original Pink Lotion, goodness gracious, I would use that for everything because I didn't know. Like I didn't know I would use that as a moisturizer. I would use that to grease my
It
scalp.
was
I
the
don't know if
fix it
y'all knew
all.
about that. What's up?
Yeah, that was the fix it all. That was the
Yeah, that was
one.
everything. That was everything.
Like
You could
That
use it
and
for it all.
Vaseline and water.
Basically, either one. You
dude,
choose which one you're
dude,
Vaseline
gonna
on them
use.
edges, what?
I'll speak for my experiences
Vaseline and
on hair
water?
because I grew up Allen Iverson was pretty much God Almighty to a teenager,
Mm.
black teenager at
Mm-hmm.
that, and
Mm-hmm.
I grew my hair out, and to make my cornrows look better, I would do the hot have my cousin or my aunt do the what is it, the hot comb. She would hot comb my hair,
You have to pull
and
it out so it'd be like
yeah,
longer.
yeah, and that shit
Hmm.
was so terrible for our hair as I learned
Oh
growing up.
yes,
Because I heard
yes,
heat. I found out heat is bad for our heads, and
yep,
that's one thing that black women don't ever want to fucking stop doing.
yep.
And I'm only gonna say black women because unfortunately, I only see black women doing all these mixed
I
concoctions.
think, is it high heat or all heat? I don't know. I
High
think it's
high
So
but
heat.
it's
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 high
it's
heat.
it's heat within like a heating tool type of thing. So like any type of like
Like a blow dryer,
straightener, blow dryer, I get hot
the dryer,
curlers.
air dryer.
Yeah, any type. But you know what? The hooded dryers are actually like it could be used like
Oh,
as
I'm
a
talking about the
good.
old school dryer, not the. I know the new
Oh, okay,
ones.
okay, okay, cool,
You
cool,
what you
cool,
about to
cool.
say, but the old ones that look like fucking toilets upside down.
But you
I
know,
got,
with
go ahead.
those because it's not like direct heat, like because a lot of people even use those hooded dryers today, and they may do like a deep conditioning
Correct.
treatment, right? So if they
Okay.
have like conditioner on their, it's actually good. Like if you have like conditioner on your hair, like a really
Mhm.
good conditioner, you put a shower cap on that, you get on then that hood. Goodness gracious, it's beautiful. It
I
it,
did it
it
for my
helps
They
your hair
beard.
use
so
the
That's
much.
all.
same thing. They do
That's
a
all I was
hot
about
oil
to say.
treatment
Yeah.
with that too, don't they?
Yes, hot oil treatment too. I do that every time before I wash my hair. It helps with sheen. It helps, if you have overall dry hair, it helps with does wonders for the scalp. Like so
You
some
Mm.
heat
mentioned
is like go ahead.
You mentioned moisture lock. I'm like, what is moisture lock? Because again, like as a black man, the older you get, the more regimentized you get, I guess, and you
Yes.
need to find a regimen that works for you.
Oh,
Like, how do
you
you
know,
Yes.
lock in moisture in your hair? I didn't know that was a thing because you said it,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the only
So
one to
you're
say
like,
that.
what the
we
you're like, what
we
the
because we always do it topical. Like I found that out the hard way. Um, like I was my wife gave me something for my hair, and I was just rubbing it on and everything. She's like, "No, you got to use your fingertips, and then they go against the grain."
hmm
Black dudes with waves never want to go against the grain, and I learned that the hard way when I used to cut hair. And one of the homies, he distracted me when I started cutting, and I went against the grade on like the side part. And that motherfucker done they cried until
Oof.
I gave him I faded him. I gave him like a dope fade. He started telling me, "Shut the
Yeah,
fuck up."
but
Damn.
look at
But
the
he
internet,
had,
how they
Ooh.
doing waves now. They do it with the do rag on and the
I hate
conditioner.
that
Like I
shit.
was like, I didn't even know that existed.
I
Oh,
hate
they're
that
doing
do rag shit.
so much with the waves now. I'm like, whoa. Like it's
Yeah, I think
so
they're coming back. I seen the do rag. They put the conditioner on. They wash it. And they're like, what the hell is that a
hmm
thing?
Niggas are suffocating their
Because we
heads
thought
with.
just putting sporting waves in your head, putting the do rag on tight, and just tighten that bitch. But nah, they have the 540, 740. These guys' waves now, they are ridiculous if they keep waves.
they yes.
More niggas that put more effort in their waves in their career.
Okay, straight up. That's
Hey
it's
man,
the
men
honest
and
truth.
women both do that because we unfortunately we put more into our looks than anything. Some people.
Yeah, yeah.
But
You
that resorts back to like looks being a sense of your confidence, how people perceive you. Like that's a much broader conversation,
You
and that's
know,
something that I don't want to put necessarily on our people specifically because
It's
Europeans been
everybody.
imitating us since the beginning of time.
hey,
Because
you know,
what was it? They said naked men never ever change society. So your looks do matter. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. Naked men never change society. So I mean, your looks
But go
matter.
ahead, DJ, you got it.
no, what you said, I think social media only altered that because looks did. Our confidence came aboard, and it like completely like put it on steroids because you might be a good looking dude or female, and you ain't getting no likes, and that changed the whole dynamic of your looks because. I always reference back to when I was single again before, back in like 2011, 12. And IG had finally made like it surfaced, but this is before DM IG. It was just literally post a picture, caption, and likes. That was it. And like my homie was like an IG fucking genius. Like he knew how to get his likes and this and that. And then I got on and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. And literally he gave me like a schooling on bitches like selfies. Bitches like shirtless pics. Bitches like this. Like, and it really was working. Like, I was only eating fish, turkey, and fucking chicken, and my life was like 80% workout, 10% like work, and then the rest of it was like socializing. That's what got likes, and my old account got all the fucking attention because motherfucker was whoring himself out. Once you put your clothes back on, well, which nowadays, I ain't gonna lie, you can be as naked as you want, you still ain't gonna get no likes because it's just oversaturated. But it changed the dynamic because all of us old enough to remember what attractive looked like before the social media boom.
Oh man, you mean
I'm
regular
curious.
looking
What do you
women?
think that is? What is
I
that? Because
mean, Facebook didn't. It had you had those every once in a while girls that did back when Facebook was like college, and then it sunk over to high school. Then it went public. When it went public, and everybody can get an account,
Yeah.
it got a little raunchy, but it didn't get like crazy Twitter porn raunchy. And then Twitter had this little dark sector, and that still didn't like justify the dynamic of how we looked. IG was the first like monetization of it, and then Snapchat kind of took it to a whole different level, and IG obviously took all their shit and became fucking Super Saiyan.
so.
And it,
There's like two levels of attractiveness that we don't talk about in women. I don't think a lot of women understand this. There's I would have sex with you, and then there's like I would marry you. Like, but
Yeah.
generally, like
Yeah.
95% of Instagram is like I'll have sex with you. Like it's just the truth of it. And then the women be like, man, I think she really about something. Like the way she present herself and all that kind of stuff. Like that's
but
different and rare.
you right because like that's why I don't like hearing like Boosie talk and nothing like that. Like when he was doing the shit and chicks were doing the little, it enhanced perversion because motherfuckers weren't like closeted in like what they liked in like porn because they didn't have to go to the porn sites no
Right.
more. It was right
Yeah.
there. Like I agree because that's why I said I started really just disliking the IG girl persona all the way
Yeah,
fully. Like
like the
I didn't
ones I
even care to
shared
see
with you.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
like
do.
those
Yeah,
women. Like I
that's
would
why I don't
never
care to
like.
look at. I don't
Yeah,
care to
I
look
never
because
seriously talked to those women, but I'll like think about putting,
well,
my orifices in them, but nothing serious.
but it's the before I bust a nut and after I bust a nut complex with them. Like it's
Correct.
like yeah, I already gave one out for the day, so I don't really care, dude. But then it's like, oh man, I'm up in the morning. Damn, she all right, It's still like it's
Because
only
when she was talking about natural hair, I love me a girl with some
I
like
love
big
natural
ass
hair.
curls on her head. Like I love that shit. Like the big ass curls. Like I don't know what it's called,
yeah.
and it looks like an afro, but it's real kinky, and they're like
You look like
big.
cotton
I
candy.
love those things.
I
What'd
was
you say?
obsessed with the straight hair because I was in the military. So the girls that had like that certain texture hair that was real thin, but they had to obviously put it straight into a bun. I used to
Yeah.
like that. Like that was my thing, and that's where I realized that those girls were actually really curly hair girls and not like curly hair girls because they correlated.
That straighten their
Wow.
hair, right?
Yeah, well, they didn't have to
Mm.
straighten it. It's just the fact that they had to put their hair in a bun because
Oh, so you couldn't
yeah.
tell what it was. Like
Exactly.
you couldn't tell the
Like 'cause
texture.
women in the military, they really wore their hair down because it was hard to put their hats on. So they wore
Yeah.
a bun, and the bun couldn't be no more than 3 inches. So it wasn't like
Yes.
crazy stupid.
Mm.
So
I heard they were having a battle over that. Did they ever figure that out about natural house stairs in the military? Would they allow them to
it's
do so or
it's still a
what?
battle because
Okay.
it depends on who's in a leadership position and what part of the fucking world you're in. Because they just approved women in the military to have ponytails out. Like it can't go past a certain length, but at the point they went crazy once they allowed to let the ponytails come out. So women that don't even have real hair bought their ponytails and let it hang out. Then the
Just
girls that
said,
had
you know what,
ponytails,
sis, look, okay, we
yeah.
gonna get our ponytails.
But natural hair became a thing. They authorized women, and then obviously only applied to one demographic. But like 4 or 5 years ago, they allowed them to have locks. Like that was against the regulations in the military. Especially Air Force was last to go, but all of them
Mm.
they couldn't have locks. If they did, they had to cut that shit off.
Wow.
Wow.
Man.
Wow. You
Like
think that was an attack on black people? Because they always say we're always saying that, but I'm like, dude, white people don't have locks like that. We know what you're doing. Like we
Exactly.
know what
E-
they're not doing.
Exactly. And it's not even a care to understand it, right? Because it's just kind of like this is how our hair grows, right? Like
right.
this is a style that, people want to wear to, if they want longer hair, like a locks is a way to do that if they want, long healthy hair in that way. And honestly for the military too, because you can't comb your hair every day. Like, do you know how hard it is for a black woman to get her hair in a bun? Okay? We
A
do
lot of
not
black women
we
would
ain't
do
get at
shortcuts or get
yeah,
like
they would have
box
to.
braids or something.
You
Yeah.
you would have
Hmm.
to, because if you're going out you're doing all of this stuff, like there's no time to get that gel together, to get that, concoction. And I'm gonna go back to the that moisture sealing thing that I was talking about earlier. But there's just no time to do the care that you need to do. So the best style to do it is either locks, braids, or twists. Like
The
that's
funny
just what's the
the
best thing to
funniest thing
do.
was the Air Force was also the last to let women buzz their hair off. It was against the dress code for them to
Really
buzz their hair. Like the Army allowed it, the Navy and the Marines, but there was one
interesting.
type of woman that buzzed their hair off because black women would get taped up fades or whatever like that. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was against the guidance. Like a lot of shit just opened up in the last like 5 years for hair when it came to black men and women, because across all the branches we couldn't get parts in our heads, but white people can see comb a part in their head, and then they would get it cut in and claim that it's just a hair comb because their hair flows
Mhm.
differently than us. So they just
Yeah.
allowed you to get like a side part. You couldn't get like a half moon, but you can get one on the side and everything. Like it was just so many things that was like you look at it, it was only targeting one demographic.
Facts. And I'm so
But
glad, like, go ahead.
isn't that I'm trying to be devil's advocate. Isn't the military supposed to be like not about the individual and stuff like that? And
Yeah,
then
but the thing is, if it's all everybody gets the same treatment, then these white people can get parts and black people can't. And I want to get a part in my hair.
I mean,
Like you know,
I
it's
agree. I'm just
gonna be
playing devil's
correct.
advocate.
No, I know. It's just
Yeah.
that's the slippery slope of everything. Like I deal with it inside the military infrastructure and outside now. You give a little bit to one side, there's going to be somebody that's just looking for like some reason to complain, and you got to like find a way to give it to all or take it away. And unfortunately, when it favors the whites, I think it's always going to be something where they're going to just give a blanket like, all right, everybody can do it. Versus if it only favors the blacks, they're like, no, nobody can do it.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Very
Yeah.
much so, man. It's a crazy sort of topic, and I would love to focus more
Well,
so on this.
I got another question for her.
All right, let you have the final word.
Okay, final word. With you liking the natural hairstyles, Kevin Samuels speaks about this kind of stuff. And
Ah, shit,
Kevin Samuels,
we need to go an episode without mentioning that nigga, man. He ain't
We
bad, but we need to go.
we couldn't go through one.
Kevin Samuels, how would y'all feel that he feels on like the weaves and all that kind of stuff? I don't know where he falls at on it, really, because hair. Like I just like, and we're having a whole episode with like four black men up here talking about women's hair. I don't think like women think we
One
don't
woman.
empathize with them. No, in general, women don't think men, because men have their opinions about things. Well, you shouldn't have opinions about things that don't deal with you, uh, that don't
Concern
mean
you. Don't
anything to
concern
you,
you.
concern you. Yeah, but they do to some extent. Like, shouldn't we be able to express these opinions? Where's that limit? And like, not to just say Kevin Samuels says things that everybody agrees with, but like, how much should a man say? I guess that's a better question. How much should a man say to a woman about her hair?
That's a good question. I think it depends where it's coming from, because the reality is, like, I feel like people and like men have their preference for hair in general, right? So it's just kind of like, well, I like, like you guys are saying, I like my girl with curly hair. I like my girl with straighter hair. I like this. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just like, why hide your opinion on what you like? But also I feel like, with explanation, let's say, a girl has had like, and this is an example, like if a girl has had like severe, we talk about heat damage, right? And so she wants to do sort of a big chop, like she wants to cut that off and kind of start over. That happens a lot with women with, that had perm or want to damage, or maybe had color damage. They, the
Hmm.
big chop is
Hey,
like
hey, hey,
big,
hey! You
right?
left one thing out. Or she just had a bad breakup, and that's a part of her. That's what it
Th-
is.
th- I
Or
mean,
she,
that's
or she's
look. I had
ending
an
the
older
whole thing.
roommate, and that's another thing. I mean, she, like she's had some. I mean, some, and I've had two roommates that have done it, have just cut because it's a new phase in their life. They want something different, like whatever that cut is. And so I think, even if, let's say, their partner, whoever's with them, the guy is with them, and they say, well, you know what, I don't like short hair. You know what I mean? And I think they're, I'm not a fan of short hair, or I don't like your hair like that, or don't cut it. And I feel like at that point, it's just kind of like, okay, a conversation needs to be had of why I did it. I did it to grow it out. And a guy should be supportive of just kind of like, okay, you cut your hair, babe. You know what? Let's get it long. If she's in that process of wants to grow it out, okay, let's look up some companies that have natural hair care products to help you grow it out. Let's look at that up together. I feel like it's community, because it's like, okay, it's the same as like, maybe if you don't want a partner that may have gained a little weight, what are you going to do? We're going to work it out together, and we're going to help you get to that point. I feel like it's the same a little bit with a big chop. So it may not be your preference, but it's like you got to work with your person to kind of get them to where they want to be.
That's actually a great answer. I mean, I think that
I thought so too.
we really need to take that in consideration. I think it's one of those, conversations you got to have with someone in a, open, trusting sort of way, not like
Yeah.
one of the last minute things, and take it in consideration, like all the different things.
Communication.
Exactly. It all boils down to communication. That's what we need more of in the Black community. But,
When can we find your product? We too, because you got stuff for men too, right?
Yes, I do. So everything I talked about is available on my website, allnaturalkinks.com. So you can find everything that I talked about, and you can find specific, kind of avenues that you want to find. So if you're focusing on hair growth and length retention, I know a few, you talked about your daughters and wanting to do like hair regimens. It's already there for you. I already have the full process. Like, you don't have to go from product to product. It's already there. I have moisture. I have the sealant. I have everything in there. I even have the growth oil in there. So if you go to the website, you'll find that on the main page. If you're into locks, I have, a kit for locks. How can I, moisturize my hair and scalp? Got it for you. So everything is like regimented. Everything is in a process. And that kind of really what sets me apart. I feel like just from other companies, it's more about the process than the product, rather than, just having products that are random that may help with this, may help with that. Oh no, I know people like want help with that. So I've made it in that way, even like a wash day kit. So, again, with the daughters, if your daughter, you want to keep your hair daughters long, healthy, get them a wash day kit. It talks about everything they need, from the detangling to deep conditioning to shampooing. Everything's natural. Everything's handmade by me. So that's really what sets me apart. And I want to fit in one more thing, because I was mentioned about the moisture process, and I talked about the sealant, right? Okay, so I just want to put that in there. So with if you have a kinky or even curlier texture, prone to dryness. So when you the problem is, a lot of people just put maybe like water in their hair and say, hey, it's moisturized. The problem is that with our hair, water escapes extremely, extremely easily. So in order to keep the hair moisturized and not stay dry, you have to put a liquid-based product. So it could be water, or it could be any type of like spray. I have what you call a moisture mist. So that's going to be the first thing you want to put in your hair. Then a leave-in conditioner. So that's going to put nutrients back in your hair. So something with a little bit more natural. My products have an aloe vera based to put the aloe vera that's going to penetrate the hair shaft. Once you have that in there, you want to seal everything in, just kind of like, I don't know, think of a blanket, keep the warmth in. You need that blanket for the covering. Shea butter is the same way. To keep that moisture in, you need either a shea butter or oil, depending on your texture of hair. And that's like the main moisture process. And that's what keep your hair staying moisturized. So maybe you guys never heard that, but that's the thing.
Would rose water be one of those as well?
Yes, you could use rose water as that moisture as well. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And then after the rose water, but you want to follow up again with some type of like cream leave-in conditioner, not like, some type of, not any type of like pink lotion or anything, even though it seems like a cream, you don't want any of that in there. You want like something that's going to actually do something for the hair. So that's why, again, I do aloe vera gel for my base, because it's going to put that moisture, or not that moisture, but the nutrients in the hair. And then you want to seal it in there.
Yeah, I just switched to a product called Camille Rose. I use her.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I use that. And as far as washing and conditioning my hair, I use something called my Black is Beautiful. That works
Okay.
really good for my hair. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even with washing, you want if again your hair is prone to dryness, especially for my guys that mention wanting to kind of save the hairline and like thinning, you want to make sure you always use a moisturizing shampoo. Nothing should be drying. So you want to
yes,
make sure when you're looking at it, make sure it is that moisturizing shampoo, and then that's really going to help. And then do a deep conditioner afterwards. So that's going to help
exactly.
as well.
And don't use any shampoo that has any of those alcohols in it because them alcohols actually take out the natural oils in your hair.
Yes, yes. So my thing is always study the alcohol, because sometimes alcohol, not every alcohol is bad. You got to look at, what type of alcohol it is. If you have like very drying alcohols and a lot of, the man-made, those type of alcohols, yes, those are very drying and those are going to be horrible. And, if you have sulfates in your shampoo, those are going to be drying. But some alcohols aren't really for that. They're designed more for like to help the, either the, what do you call it, the preserving of the product sometimes, and it's not necessarily damaging for the hair. So I always say, if you have an ingredient, if you're looking at ingredients, just Google the ingredient, see exactly what it does, so you know.
I love talking to our future entrepreneurs, aka our Madam CJ Walkers of the future. We love having you on this. I know her whole story is a little bit weird, but we're just talking about our future entrepreneurs. I'll check
Current
out your products
entrepreneurs too.
myself. Oh, future and current. I guess you are one now. And I love the way that your spouse encouraged you, because a man should
Yes,
encourage his woman to her greatest potential, just as she should do for him.
yes,
That's wonderful. I love stories like that. Y'all need to write a
yes.
book.
Yeah, we really
Actually,
do. I'm
yeah,
telling
write
you, it
that.
needs to
Write
come
that
out.
book.
Everybody
It
should
needs
write
to
a
come
book, even
out.
if it's terrible.
Facts. Just write it. Just write. The
I mean, just
memoirs
write
in
Write
it.
it.
there.
Somebody will read it one day. Trust me.
Exactly.
Exactly. I believe it.
But thanks again for coming on this episode of Everyday Black Man Podcast, a podcast for authentic black male thoughts. I've been Riker, he's been Reed, he's been DJ All Might, and of course Armstead. Our special guest today was AJ Watkins, the owner of All Natural Kinks. Definitely check her out. I'll include the information in the show notes in case you didn't hear it from the 3 or 4 times we mentioned it. But in either case, check us out on Twitter at EVYD Black Men, Instagram Everyday Black Men, and the Everyday Black Men Facebook page. You can also reach us on our website at www.everydayblackmen.com. And our Patreon is EBMP. Definitely check it out. A lot of cool content up there. But this will definitely be going to prime time. Peace.
Peace.